Welcome to another 2 minute drill. I'm Jim Monahan along with Sleeping Beauty over here, Chris Swendeman.
What?
Hey, Aaron
What? I
Glenn,
was up.
wake
What?
up.
What? I was looking at my iPad. What? I'm here.
You
What?
doing your
What?
best Aaron Glenn impression?
Oh, sorry. I must have pulled a Glenn.
How bad a look was that?
Jet fans, you have my utmost sympathies at this point. There are two fans of AFC East football teams in the Bills and the Patriots on this podcast. You have our utmost sympathies because if it could, it will happen to Jet fans and the Jets. Like at this point, Jet fans just go, "Why? Why does it always have to be us when something stupid happens?"
Listen, you
Like
could
they
do
were.
what Swendeman did. You could abandon ship. He went from a lifelong Cowboys fan to Mr. Buffalo Bills jumping on a card table.
Listen, and you know what? It was the best decision I ever made. I'm happy. I enjoy my team. I enjoy the ownership. I enjoy the players. I it just I I think Jet fans like the misery at this point. They're kind of like Eagle fans without the winning. They
Yeah,
just
all right.
they like the misery. And it's just like, oh, what can we do next? Like one of those things. And when I was watching the combine last week and I saw that, I just did one of these. I was like, oh, like, come on, guys. Like, you had a good week. You were really, Muji was doing some good moves. They made a great trade, I thought, to get that nose tackle from Tennessee. And it's like, it's the yin to the yang with the Jets. For every good thing that happens, three bad things, and everything that bad that happens to the Jets, it's like magnified by 10, and you just can't make it up. So, Jet fans, you have my utmost sympathies.
I remember years ago. Um, I think it was right after they went to Shea Stadium. After where were they? Randall's Island before that? Wherever
Yes,
they were before
or the
Shea
Polo
Stadium.
Grounds.
Yeah, so one of my cousins, we're out in Queens, and one of my cousins holds up tickets. He goes, I've got Jets season tickets. Now this is 1963 or 64, something like that.
Right.
It's real early on. I'm just a little kid, and I go, yeah, but they're awful.
And fast forward all these years later, and it's still the same.
Yeah, but they're awful.
They really, I, I have hopes for them this year. I think they could take a step forward. It's all going to be between the draft and who they get in free agency. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but I think they have an opportunity here with Muji to at least staff wise get better. Um, I think they cleaned house of some of the problems. I think they're doing a good reset. I think they've got a plan in place. Now, is Aaron Glenn going to be there to see the plan through? We have our doubts, and we'll leave it at that.
Speaking of cleaning house, we're going to pivot here and we're going to go to the New York Mets, who made some rather bold offseason moves by who they either traded or did not sign. And while it's only spring training, the team appears to be winning. They've got some pieces that they put
Right.
together. And reports that I've heard out of Port St. Lucie are that the vibe in the clubhouse is completely different. Juan Soto, in particular. Now, maybe it's because he's got a year under his belt with the big contract and he's just let out a big exhale. But he, in particular, is hanging around the clubhouse more. He's interacting with the other players more. He seems happier. And you're just looking at this whole thing. And we have talked about this for months
Right.
about, addition by subtraction and some of the chemistry problems that may have been going on. But you look at what's going on. Again, it's only spring training, but they're showing signs of winning. They're showing signs of actually enjoying each other's company. And all of a sudden, maybe Steve Cohen saying, nah, I don't need a captain. I don't want to pick a captain. However, he phrased it, maybe all of a sudden, Chris, that's starting to make sense.
You know what? Sometimes you just got to let things happen organically. Then forced fun. It's it has its drawbacks in the name alone, and I think maybe Steve knew just you know what? instead of putting titles on everybody or, making somebody be the captain and say, hey, come on, guys, let's just see what we have and let it play out. And you know what? If this is all true and they go in to the season a harmonious group, you know what? Who needs to see on the how many teams actually have? And I was thinking about this last week after our discussion. I think what two teams in the league, one of them being the Yankees, have named captains. The other one is Salvador Perez, I believe, for the Kansas City Royals. Every other team doesn't really have a captain. So you know what? By and large, most teams are going to agree with Steve that he's going to hold off on naming a captain or maybe doesn't name one at all. What's the big deal? If you have a harmonious group that gels and works together, who cares if you have a C on your jersey or not? Nobody's going to care.
Let's stay with baseball. I want to talk to you about a survey that the Athletic did over the back end of February, and there were some surprising results in there. There were more than 14,000 respondents. I have no idea what the demographic of the respondents were, male, female, age. I have no idea. But I found a couple of things surprising. One was the opinion of the job that Commissioner Rob Manfred's doing. If you listen to the noise, he sucks. But according to the majority of people in this poll, he's either doing okay or really well. And I found that very interesting. One of the other things that jumped out was the overall health of the game. That out of these 14,000 respondents, people overwhelmingly were enthusiastic about the state of the game at the major league level. And that kind of goes along the noise you hear about Manfred. Oh, he did this. Oh, he did that. Oh, that, whatever. So I think those things both go hand in hand. But there were two things that really stood out. And again, no demographics involved. I have no idea age, gender, what have you. But it had to do with gambling. And of the respondents, is betting on baseball a regular part of your fan experience? Now, think of how many ads there are for legal gambling outlets.
Right.
Think of it both on television, radio, and in the ballpark. 93.5% said no, it is not a part of my baseball fan experience. Only 6.5% said yes. That's a pretty overwhelming number. And then this one really stood out. And you and I have talked about this with regard really more towards the NBA and the NFL, especially with the officiating in NFL.
Oh, of course.
With the prevalence of gambling in baseball, are you worried about the integrity of the game? Again, a little over 14,000 respondents. We don't know demographics, age, what have you. But of those respondents, 77% said that they were worried about gambling and the effect it was having on the integrity of the game. That's a pretty damning number right there.
It is. It really is. But you know what? When you have situations, and I'll just use this one because it's the most topical, I think, right now. Emmanuel Clase, the former closer for the Cleveland Guardians, who admitted they have him, basically saying or proof that he was throwing certain pitches to lay bets, to let people lay bets down on certain pitches he was throwing, and he was throwing them purposely. So I would be concerned because not only would I see that, and it was just so pronounced, the case against Emmanuel Clase, you automatically think, well, he's not the only one, right? Because then your mind just goes, well, they found out he was doing it, but how many did they not find out were doing it yet? So I would be skeptical too, and I would believe in that. That number didn't shock me. Put it that way.
Well, and that gambling thing happened, him throwing pitches, happened in a postseason game.
Yeah.
At first it was just the first pitch of a game.
Right.
And you kind of go, well, you shouldn't be doing it, but it could be worse. Well,
Right.
now it's a postseason game. So, yeah, it is worse.
Right.
But I was very surprised 77%. And I was watching the Celtics 76ers game Sunday night.
I was too. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the game and, you know, let them play versus calling ticky tack
Right.
fouls. And we know the history of gambling in the NBA and the not
Right.
too distant past. And then you think about some of the stuff that goes on in the NFL where they still can't figure out what is or isn't pass interference. And some of the officiating is just god awful. And
Right.
it makes you think, like, what the hell's going on here?
It really does. I mean, they still can't define in certain terms that every fan can understand what a football move is. That's another thing. What constitutes pass interference? What's a football move to constitute a catch, a reception? Why can't we get this? We're in the age of modern technology, folks. Why can't we get this right? And the NFL and the NBA really, for the size of both leagues and the money that they rake in and the money that the players receive, and the fact that it is so, you can't go to commercials in between games without seeing a sports betting commercial in there or a sports betting ad within the game. I mean, it's so prevalent. It just makes you wonder sometimes, especially when it's a random game and it's, the third quarter of a game and it's some bad call and you just go, huh? Like, none of this makes sense. And then you look and sponsored by, and you look at a sports betting commercial, you're like, nah, and you don't want to believe it because you want to believe sports, the integrity of sports. But nowadays, sometimes you just throw up your hands and you go, yeah, I don't know.
It's
It
optics.
really leaves you skeptical.
Yeah, it's
It
very
is.
bad optics. And again,
Yep.
I was very surprised. And it could be that it was an older audience that responded to this, and perhaps a younger audience
Right.
gambles more. I have, again, no idea. I just found 77% think that it's hurting the integrity of the game or can have an effect on the integrity of the game. In which case, that's something, and I don't think that's just baseball. I think that would be all of the major sports.
Right.
And that's something that they all have to talk about at some point and deal with because they're getting a lot of money from all the betting
Absolutely. Absolutely.
organizations. You know
I mean,
that. That's why they're doing it.
they're raking it in. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's hand over fist at this point. You can't go, I would say, on the conservative side. Jim, back me up if I'm wrong. 10 minutes, if that, without seeing some type of sports gambling association, something associated with a commercial during a game and seeing it every 10 minutes. And that's probably on the far side. It's probably a lot less than that, but I'll say conservatively on every 10 minutes. And I mean, after a while, you just go, like, things that make you go, because I don't know what else to think at this point.
I want to touch on something that we talked about last week, and that was that phenom rookie, the 19-year-old. He'll be 20 in April, but he's 19 right now, and he is lighting things up in spring training for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Konnor Griffin. And again, we talked about you don't want to believe everything you see in February and March, and
Right.
then later in the season when the rosters expand in September, especially when the rosters really used to
Right.
expand. But what he's doing, the 2 home runs against the Red Sox, he crushed another one. And these aren't little cheapies. He is launching these things. And I read a column the other day by a guy who said the Pittsburgh Pirates owe it to their fan base. And you talked about this last week to bring him up and right to the major league level. Now, I don't know, maybe you give him a few weeks in AAA just to get his feet underneath him. But I was looking at some numbers. As recently as 2015, the Pittsburgh Pirates drew 2.5 million fans. They were competitive for a few years. Even last year, as bad as they were, I think they finished 20 games under 500. They put almost 2 million fans in the ballpark, 1.7 million for a losing team. It's a great ballpark. It is a great baseball city with a great heritage. Clint Hurdle who managed the Pirates for a while in that run that they made in the mid 15, 16, 17,
Yep.
that area.
Hmm.
He loved his time in Pittsburgh. And you think, okay, you don't want to rush him, you don't want to crush him, and have the experience be too overwhelming. But given Skeens, and now you've got this kid, give these fans at least a glimmer of hope and let them start. Bring them up.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Yankees want to see what they're going to have in him in 5 years when they trade him. I, but I mean, seriously. So Skeens 2 years ago, phenom, can't miss pitching prospect. What do? They put him in the minors till the end of May, and they literally called it the Skeens Watch.
Mhm.
Anytime you watched any MLB show, it was the Skeens Watch. When are they going to call him up? When are they calling? And I think he got mid-May, if I remember correctly. Last year, they jerked around with another pitcher who was who's Skeens' LSU teammate, Bubba Chandler. Now, Bubba Chandler's another one, maybe not Skeens, but real close. And they jerked around with him. It was supposed to be, oh, a few more weeks. He needs more seasoning. This guy was lights out at AAA. He had nothing left to prove. May, June, July. Finally, in late August, they call him up. And he was good, not as good as people thought, but I think he got into his own head in the minors, being that, am I not doing enough, or started pressing. Now this year, Konnor Griffin, what are they going to do with it? If you have any decency for your fans, if you care about your fans at all, let this kid start, or like you said, maybe a couple weeks, late April at best, but bring him up and let the kid play. You have some really good young talent in your farm system. I mean, of course you do, because you've sucked for so long. You keep getting high draft picks. It's but seriously, the fans deserve it. And Pittsburgh has been they have done that, time manipulation with the contracts, and they're known for it. And I just feel at some point, like, come on, guys, what do we do? Like, at some point, you have to put a good team on the field. You can't just be harvesting prospects forever. And then, once they get too old, whoop, they're off to, wherever, the Yankees, the Dodgers, just name your team next. But I just feel like the fan base deserves better.
The interesting thing about the Pirates, the guy who's the principal owner, Bob Nutting, he's known as Bottom Line Bob because the payroll is so low. He
Right.
invested a lot of money into the minor league system, the facilities, uh, international development, and you're looking
Right.
like, well, okay, that's great. Hello, we're here at the major league level, and
Right.
we've got some really good players. Maybe if we added a piece or two or five, we could be, oh, I don't know, competitive.
Yeah, that horrible C word, competitive. Yeah, I just it feels like they always do everything backwards. Like, they're putting all this money into the minor league system. That's great. But like you said, maybe pick up a couple free agents, go crazy, get a free agent or two. My concern, everybody talks about with the impending, you know, um, lockout next year, maybe, and all the contract talks, salary cap, salary cap, salary cap. You know what my biggest concern is? Salary floor. You know what? Because what some of these teams get away with, these small market teams, and hide behind, oh, we can't compete with the big. Yes, you can. You're making money. You don't want to spend it. So for the Pittsburghs of the world, I want to see a salary floor that they have to at least hit a minimum every year of certain level of salary that they're putting back into the team. Because you know what? Who wants to be toiling away? You have top three, and I'm going to say that probably even on the lesser side, and I think he's better than that, with Paul Skeens. You're going to waste his best years because you're too cheap to go out and buy free agents, and that's criminal. That's criminal for the fans that they, every fifth day is Skeens Day, and they want to see Paul Skeens pitch, and you literally have nothing around him. That guy's got to pitch a 1-0 game to be able to win the game, or a 2-0 or a 2-1 game. And at some point, maybe get some bats around the guy so, he can actually feel comfortable on the mound, that it's not all on him. And it's just not fair to the fans.
Before we wrap it up, Mr. New York Rangers fan, let me ask you,
Yes.
have you gone back to hating Jack Hughes yet?
Well, that as I have a beverage. Once you talk hockey, I start getting nervous. No, what Hughes did for the country and for hockey was amazing. I mean, he and his brother on Saturday Night Live with the women,
Oh, that was
with the women's
phenomenal.
team, phenomenal scene from that. I thought that was great. And New Jersey, listen, I'm a proud Jersey boy through and through. Whether I don't root for the Devils or not, a side note. But that first game, to see the electricity in that building, all for number 86, it was pretty damn impressive. But as a lifelong Ranger fan, I absolutely hate him. Can't stand the kid. Him and his stupid missing tooth. Go get your teeth fixed. No.
Good, so we're back to normal.
We're back to normal. Yeah, well, we're back to normal because I'm miserable as a hockey fan right now. And, New Jersey fans have a lot to be excited about. And so do Islander fans with their rookie, Matt Schaefer, who's, just incredible. I mean, not on the level of Hughes right now. I mean, Hughes is riding, the America's, gold medal. But, I mean, there's exciting times in this area for hockey right now, for sure.
And that wraps things up for another 2-minute drill. You know what we say. Like, subscribe, tell your friends if you like us, tell your enemies if you don't. Do all of those things so the algorithm kicks in, and maybe we'll even be able to do another week or two of this whole thing. Maybe find a sponsor.
Now we're talking crazy.
Swendeman, have yourself a good week.
You too, Jim. Be good.